Skylanders Giants was released nearly 10 years ago. 10 years ago. I was 11 years old. I remember getting it for that Christmas of 2012, and playing it nonstop along with Spyro's Adventure. Skylanders was my childhood game, and look, 10 years later, I am still playing this game and making content for it now for you guys to watch. So this isn't going to be the normal celebratory video. I'm not going to go in depth and talk about Skylanders Giants itself and how much it means to me. This is going to be a celebration of Skylanders Giants. And what better way to do that than rankings? And I know you guys really like rankings on my channel, especially the last one I did with the swappers. So I'm going to do the same thing twice in this video, along with another ranking. So stick around and see what I've got planned throughout this video. And speaking of what I have planned throughout this video, let's give you guys a quick little rundown on what I'm going to do inside this video. First on the agenda is to rank all 8 Skylanders Giants. And then I will be ranking all 8 new cores we got from Skylanders Giants. And I will be ranking these the same way I did the swappers video in the past. I will be putting every individual Skylander on the portal and then ranking every single one of their upgrades out of 5. And they'll get a total score out of 65. And then they will get ranked at the end, and I will compare them to my favorites to least favorite to see how they stack up. So that'll be the Giants and the cores. And then lastly, I will be giving you guys my top 5 favorite levels from Skylanders Giants while going in depth a little bit on why I enjoy them so much. And sometimes they're just sentimental, but stick along. And of course, as I go along in the rankings, let me know your guys' thoughts and your guys' ranking as well in the comments or in the live chat. Other than that, let's get to it. Alright, so our first giant today is Tree Rex. So let's go to his abilities, or his upgrades I should say. So first off, he has a Shockwave Slam. This one's good, powerful one-hit main attack with a slight delay in between uses. That slight delay holding it back from being perfect, so it is a 4 out of 5. Next up we have the Sequoia Stampede. This one's his charge move. It's a great speed move for a giant that also does great damage, and also provides a little bit of a knockback. So this one gets a 5 out of 5. Next up, we have the Photosynthesis Cannon. Have trouble saying that one. Alright, this one does good damage. It's a ranged attack that gives Tree Rex a triple threat of speed with the charge move, power with the slam move, and then range with this move. Next up, we have the Big Thorn Shockwave Slam. Now he gets to charge it up and do fantastic damage. 5 out of 5, without a doubt. Next up, we got Super Stampede. This one just increases damage, so instant 5 out of 5. And now we have Tree Folk Triple Shot. This one just provides 3 shots instead of 1. They go in bursts, which with hardly any delay really. So this one's a 5 out of 5. Alright, so now we're going to go to the top path here with the Titanic Elbow Drop. This one is crazy. It does massive damage after charging, but can be left vulnerable after using. You kind of lay on the ground for a little bit. Next up we have Light-Footed. You get the duration is longer, it's faster, do more damage, 5 out of 5. And then lastly, we have the Ultimate Stampede, where you do maximum damage, 5 out of 5. Alright, time for the bottom path. We got Supercharged Vaporizer. This one is fantastic. It does massive damage to a single target, and it's really useful when you have a giant that can attack from long range for massive damage. Next up, we have the Sun Skewer. Now the Photosynthesis Cannon blasts through enemies, so you can hit multiple enemies. This is a 5 out of 5. And then lastly, we have the Pod Maker, where exploding enemies pretty much turn into plants, which then explode, damaging other enemies. So this is a 5 out of 5. No questions asked on that one. And then lastly, we have the Woodpecker Pal for the Soul Gem. This one is a 5 out of 5. It's a good damage minion. It's nothing crazy, but it's a good damage that never expires is the thing. It never goes away. So, in saying that, that's a 5 out of 5, leaving Tree Rex with a final score of 63 out of 65.
I've got my eye on you.
Everybody welcome Eyebrow. So let's jump into his upgrades real quick and take a look. All right, first up we have the Haymaker. It's fast, very fast, and deals great damage. So this one's a 5 out of 5. Next we have Eye Fly. This one's useful for distant enemies, but leaves your body very vulnerable. This is a 2 out of 5. That's how vulnerable you are. Next up we have an Eye in Team. This one is very low damage and very close ranged, so another 2 out of 5. Very disappointing. Next up we have the awesome Ocublast. This one just increases the rate of fire, so it's a 5 out of 5. The Pummeler increases damage, 5 out of 5. Headless, not helpless. This one's very important. It gives your body protection. But the punches are super, super slow, so you still get hit quite a bit. But you do some damage, I guess. So it's a 3 out of 5 for me. So now onto the top path, we have the Eyebrow combos. These ones are both very easy to use and very powerful. So it's a 5 out of 5. Next up, we have the Ultimate Pummeler. This one just increases damage, so it's a 5 out of 5. And then lastly, in this path, we have new armor. So this one just increases armor, so it's a 5 out of 5. A perfect path up there. All right. On the bottom path, we have Asserting Independence. This one increases speed and duration of eye attack, so all stat boosts, so 5 out of 5. Next up, we have Eye Crawlers. Good for continuous damage after the first hit. The little eyeballs come up out of the ground, so 5 out of 5. It's small damage, but it does a lot over time. And then next, you have Bouncy Bouncy, which allows you to bounce the eyeball off the ground. I hated this move at first, but when I went through and was rating them all, I found I love this move. I thought you could only use it once every once in a while, but nope, you can continuously use this thing. This thing is great and does great damage, so it's a 5 out of 5. So lastly, we have the Soul Gem. You'll shoot your eye out. Everybody, you better know what movie that's a little pitch to. But anyways, you get to hold your main attack to charge up your eyeball and shoot it as a projectile, which it's pretty inaccurate most of the time, but it does good damage, so it gets a 4 out of 5. Leaving Eyebrow with a final score of a 57 out of 65.
Any last wishes?
Now it's time for Ninjini. Alright, so let's go into upgrades. Alright, first up we have Wish Blades, which are 2 powerful sword swipes, which are great, other than the fact that there's a delay in between that's pretty large and leaves you vulnerable. But it does come with a great basic combo attack, so it does get a 4 out of 5. Next up we have the Bottle Blast. This one's low damage, it's one hit, and provides a tiny little knockback, so it's a 2 out of 5 for me. Next up we have Surrealistic Spheres. This one does decent damage with a small pause between throws, so it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Next up we have Abracadabra. This one just increases damage, so 5 out of 5. This one's Juggling Act, so now you can hold to summon, I think 4 of your magical orbs and throw them in different directions, which never seem to hit. So it's a 3 out of 5 for me. It keeps the same damage pretty much, and just very inaccurate. Now we have Bottle Rockets. Pretty much just shoot really slow rockets with really low damage while you're in your bottle form. So this one's a 2 out of 5. So now for the top path, we have Wishblade combos. This one's are average combos, nothing special. They're not a huge damage. You literally give up your blades half the time. So it's nothing really special. 4 out of 5. Now we have Wishblade Explosion. Now you get to charge up your swords to do this massive blast, and I love this move. It's a short load time. This one's a 5 out of 5. Now we have the Ultimate Wishblade. This one increases damage. Instant 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, we have Super Surrealistic Spheres. I'm going to mess that up so many times. Now your magical orbs do more damage and to a greater area, so that's a 5 out of 5. Just increases stats and, area of effect. Now, Ultimate Bottle Rockets. This one increases speed, damage, and area of effect, so this one's a 5 out of 5. And lastly, we have Buy a Better Bottle, which just gives you pretty much more armor, and it's faster in bottle form. So that's a 5 out of 5. And lastly, we have the Soul Gem, the Dazzling Enchantment. This one stuns enemies, but only medium and small enemies. It's completely useless against large enemies or bosses, which is when you'd want to actually use it, because the small enemies you can take out quickly. So this one gets that 4 out of 5, leaving Ninjini with a final score of 52 out of 65. Now we have Bouncer. So let's jump into his upgrades. First up, we have the finger guns. Quick shots, good damage, 5 out of 5. Next up, we have shoulder rockets. These ones do great damage to a small area, but they seek the enemies. So this is a 5 out of 5. Then we have Eye Beam, which does good damage, but it lowers your movement speed by a ton, and it doesn't last that long. So 3 out of 5. Now you have Targeting Computer. Now you get to aim your rockets, but it's kind of useless when they seek the enemies anyways. So 4 out of 5. Next, we have the Machine Finger Guns. This one increases rate, the rate of fire, not damage. It does not increase the damage of the shots, but it makes you extremely slow as well. So it's like give or take. So 4 out of 5. Next up, we have Cooler Eye Beam, which increases damage and duration. So this is a 5 out of 5. Now let's go to the top path. Double targets. Target 6 enemies, and it can take a while to manually aim at 6 different enemies, but it can be worth it in the end. So 4 out of 5. Now we have Rockets on Demand. Unlimited rockets. 5 out of 5. Then lastly, we have Atomic Clouds. This one, your rockets now explode, leaving or damaging a wider area, so that's great. 5 out of 5. Oh, all right. Bottom. Super Machine Finger Guns. Rate of fire increases, and so does the damage, so 5 out of 5. Professionally Cool Eye Beam. This one increases damage and duration, so it's a 5 out of 5. And then lastly, we have our Laser Mines. Now, you can have up to 3 laser mines that do pretty great damage, honestly. And they go towards the enemies. They kind of like sway from side to side. They're pretty cool, pretty useful, and really easy to use, so that's a 5 out of 5. Then lastly, we have the Fists of Destruction. Not the Fist of Arcus, the Fist of Destruction. This does great damage with a fast charge rate, so I have no issues with this one. 5 out of 5. Leaving Bouncer with a final score of 60 out of 65.
It's crush hour.
Now it's time for the slowest Skylander ever created, Crusher. First up, we have the Crusher's Crusher. These are quick, powerful hammer slams with a great basic combo, so 5 out of 5. Next up, we have Turn to Stone. This will turn all small to medium-sized enemies in front of you to stone. It's really good for crowd control since Crusher has really slow speed, so it's a 5 out of 5. Next up, we have the Ground Grinder. This is good damage. It's also a range attack that can be used with the slam, so it's really useful, so 5 out of 5. Next up, we have the disappointing Rock Slide, as you can tell by my mood now. This is low damage and the most inaccurate, hard to control abilities in Skylanders. This is a 1 out of 5. I can't give that one anything. Now we have Super Crusher. Just increases damage, so that's a 5 out of 5. Now we have Cave Light Blast. This is good damage. It does a good damage blast that can be used repetitively with the eye beams. It's not like you use it and then you reset your eye beams. Nope, your eye beams stay there, freezing enemies in stone while you can use this pulse. It's great. 5 out of 5. Top path. Crusher combos. 2 very powerful and useful combos for 5 out of 5. Next we have Hammer Daddy. Now this just increases damage, so 5 out of 5. And then we have Triple Ground Grinder. Notice how slow I had to say that? 3 cracks in the ground instead of 1, affecting a very large area in front of you, doing great damage. So this is a 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom, we have Controlled Rock Slide. Now this barely helps control anything, so it's a 2 out of 5 still. It does not help at all. Next up, we have the Boulder Bombs. These are good damaging explosions, and they're useful if you can get the Rock Slide anywhere near anyone. So it's a 2 out of 5. It's impossible, I swear. And then lastly, we have the Bedrock Armor, which increases armor and looks awesome. So it's a 5 out of 5. And then the very last thing is the Soul Gem, of course. We have Rock Slide now. Now hold to steer the boulders, but he must have just learned how to drive or has no idea how to drive because There's no control in this. It's still really difficult, but I give him a point for trying. So 3 out of 5. Thanks for trying. Overall, 53 out of 65. Now it's time for Swarm. So let's get this little button. Upgrades. Let's go. Barb Blades. Average speed attack. Not as slow as I thought. They do great damage though. So it's 4 out of 5 for me. Flight of the Wasp. This increases movement speed while flying. Also, good damage and fast range attacks. It's what I use the most. 5 out of 5. Sharpened Barbs. Increases damage. 5 out of 5. Winging It. You get to fly faster and it lasts for longer. So 5 out of 5. Swarm Form. Another not great move. It's like Crusher's Rock Slide ability. You literally can't attack. You can't fly. You can't do anything other than walk around as a bunch of bees. It doesn't make much sense. 2 out of 5. Stinger Shot. Quick charge up speed and great damage to enemies directly in front of you. It's pretty easy to aim though. So 4 out of 5. Top Path. Razor Wings. Now, the wings will damage anything they touch. It helps give you a little bit of defense because they'll hit things behind you while you're shooting at things in front of you. So this is 5 out of 5. You have 360 degrees of damage pretty much. Now we have Better Barb Blast. Increases damage. 5 out of 5. And then Ultimate Barbs. Your barb blades do maximum damage. 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path. The Swarm Storm. This one increases damage and area of effect. So 5 out of 5. Now we have the Insect Explosion. This is a good damage shockwave that can be used 3 times. It's 3 times, and then it shuts off. So 4 out of 5. Now we have the Bee Cleaver. This does great damage to a single hit and can be used 4 times until Swarm Form deactivates. So 5 out of 5. My bad. And then lastly, the Soul Gem. B is for Butt Stinger. This one is a single hit. It's a tracking barb, so it'll go to a single target behind you. And it does good damage. So, kind of underwhelming, so it's a 4 out of 5. Leaving Swarm with a final score of 58 out of 65.
Hail to the whale!
Now it's Thumpback's turn. Let's jump into the upgrades. First up, we have the Anchor Assault. This does great damage, huge range. It'll hit like everything on the screen almost. And it has a great basic combo, so 5 out of 5. Now we have the Belly Flop. This does good damage to enemies that are very close by, so 4 out of 5. Then we have a Whale of a Chomp. This is very close ranged, but it does great damage to a single hit, so it's a 4 out of 5. Now we have Slippery Belly. This increases damage, also a great way to travel fast as a giant, so it's a 5 out of 5. The Whalist Chomp increases damage, so this is a 5 out of 5. Now there's an Anchor. Increases damage to the Anchor attack, 5 out of 5. Top path, here we go. Thumpback combos. Now these are very slow combos, but one is very useful and the other one does good damage. See, the Whirlpool is useful, doesn't do a ton of damage, but allows you to hit enemies a lot. And the Power Swing does great damage. So it's pick or choose, whichever one you want to do. So 4 out of 5. Next we have the Bermuda Triangle. This just increases the power of the Whirlpool from the combo. So it increases strength, therefore 5 out of 5. Now we have the Ultimate Anchor. Now this is the best anchor you could find. Increases damage, 5 out of 5. Now we're on to the bottom path, if I can click on the right one. Breakfast in Bed. This one is interesting. This one is, you get to bite while sliding. It does good damage, but can only be used twice before sliding ends. So you just got to use it like immediately when you start sliding, and then like immediately again. So you kind of got to be very strategic with it. 4 out of 5. Next we have Armor of the Sea. Increases your armor, 5 out of 5. And Bad Sushi. This one's a burst of good damage and to a pretty decent sized area as well. So 4 out of 5. Now lastly we have the Soul Gem, Blowhard. This does small, good damage shockwave to anyone close by, but it's very underwhelming for a Soul Gem. It's literally the smallest shockwave you guys have ever seen. So 4 out of 5, leaving Thumpback with a final score of 59 out of 65. And the last giant today we have is Hothead. So let's jump into his upgrades and see how Hothead does to close out the ranking of the giants. First up, we have the Flame Fire Burst. Endless fire, decent range, and good damage. So 5 out of 5. Now we have Oil Blobs. These are good damage, easy to aim, but they don't really last long though. So 4 out of 5. Now we have Premium Grade. This increases damage of your oil, so 5 out of 5. Now we have Sizzle Shower. Only good for small enemies. It's very low damage, very small area, and a very short duration. So use it wisely, 3 out of 5. Turn up the heat. Now, this one just increases damage, so 5 out of 5. Next we have Extended Forecast. Increases damage and duration, so 5 out of 5. Now for the top path, we have Eternal Flame. This increases damage, so 5 out of 5. Hot Oil Treatment increases damage, 5 out of 5. Fossil Fuel, short duration, average damage minions, and you can have 3 active max. If you try to put a 4th out there, the other one will just, kind of run away. I don't know. 3 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, we have Firestorm. Increases damage and range of the Sizzle Shower, so 5 out of 5. Oil and Fire. This is great damage shockwave explosion to anyone nearby, but it can be a little difficult to use sometimes. I don't know why, but sometimes it won't hit, so it's a 4 out of 5. And then lastly, for this path, we have Hot with a Chance of Meteors. This does huge damage to a decent-sized area, but there is a large charge time to it. So you get a lot of damage, you just gotta wait a little bit. So 4 out of 5. And then possibly the coolest, well, should I say hottest? Soul Gem, Hot Rod. This is fast and does good damage when you hit enemies. It's a little hard to control. It feels like you're kind of driving on ice sometimes, but it's a great way to travel and makes him, Hothead, who's a pretty slow Skylander by walking speed, it makes him a lot more fun to use and use throughout the story mode when you get to travel fast. So 5 out of 5, leaving Hothead with a final score of 58 out of 65. Alright, so now it is time for you guys to see how the upgrade ranking stacked up against my favorite to least favorite ranking of the Skylander Giants. So, let's get into this. For the upgrade ranking, in 7th place, for a 52 score, we have Ninjini. In 6th place, Crusher, 53. 5th, Eyebrow with a 57. At number 4, we have Swarm and Hothead at 58. Number 3, we have Thumpback at a 59. Number 2, Bouncer with a 60. And Tree Rex at number 1 with a 63 out of 65. Now, that was the upgrade ranking. So let's compare that to my favorite to least favorite ranking. All right, so number 8, I have Ninjini. Pretty accurate. 7, Crusher. Pretty accurate. 6, Eyebrow. 5, Thumpback. 4, Bouncer. 3, Hothead. 2, Swarm. And number 1, my favorite giant, Tree Rex. Alright, so now that we're on to the cores, who better to start off with than our boy Pop Fizz. Alright, so let's jump into the upgrades. We have Potion Lob. This one's good damage and decent range, so it's pretty average, so 4 out of 5. Next we have Beast Form. You're faster and stronger, but it doesn't last long. That's the only thing holding it back, so 4 out of 5. New Concoctions. 3 potions that do 3 different effects, and they do good damage, so 5 out of 5. Puddle of Pain. This is great for bosses and larger enemies for constant small damage, like over time damage. So other than that, it's pretty useless because enemies will just kind of walk around it. So 4 out of 5. Next we have Raging Beast. Increases damage, so 5 out of 5. I can't even attempt to say that word. Dexterous? Alright, I know what it means, but I can't say it. Delivery, sure. Alright, rate of fire, increase. That's all that matters. 5 out of 5. Alright, now let's go to the top path. We have More Beast, increases duration and recharge rate. So this is a 5 out of 5. Next we have Berserker Boost. This ability, or this upgrade allows you to possibly be in beast mode the entire level. It's great. Do damage, get more of your meter back. So 5 out of 5 here. Now we have Mutant Beast, unique attacks that do great damage. So 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, Master Chemist. This one increases damage and effects, so 5 out of 5. Now we have the Mixologist. Good damage to small areas, and they don't last long, so 3 out of 5. All in, so long charge time on this one. But it does good damage, but for the charge time, I feel like it should do more damage. So 4 out of 5. Then lastly, with the Soul Gem, we have Shake It. This one does massive damage, and it's definitely worth the long charge up time. This is how much damage this one should do. Like, they have the equivalent charge times, and this one does so much more damage. So this one gets a 5 out of 5, leaving Pop Fizz with a 59 out of 65. Now we have Jethvac. Not a very loved character in the community, but let's see if he's actually that bad or if people just hate him for no reason. First up, we have the Vac Blaster. This one does good damage, but the rate of fire feels slow, but it's kind of average. I don't know. It's just not good. So 4 out of 5. Next up, we have the Suction Gun. This one pulls enemies closer, doing small damage, but it pulls them closer. So 2 out of 5. It makes you super vulnerable because you're not doing enough damage to take them out. Now we have Feistier Fan. Increases damage of the fan, so 5 out of 5. Jethvac Jetpack. Notice I had to say that. Hardly travel faster. And it says new attacks in the air. Nope. No, you don't. What are you talking about? It's super hard to control. No new attacks. They lie. Now we got the Vac Blaster. Oh, this was a 1 out of 5, by the way. I think that was kind of obvious with the way I treated it. Vac Blaster 9000 increases damage 5 out of 5. And then Turbine Suction Fan increases damage 5 out of 5. So on to his paths. Maybe this is where he gets good. Piercing Winds. This wing increases damage and they can hit multiple targets, so it's a 5 out of 5. The Vac Master Blaster 20,000. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but sure. Anyways, increases damage 5 out of 5. Super Suction Air Blaster. Great damage, easy to use, so this one's a 5 out of 5. A perfect path. Bottom path, Tank Reserves. You get to increase your duration of flight and your recharge rate is faster, so this is a 5 out of 5, purely statistics. The Mulcher increases damage, 5 out of 5. I'm just now realizing all 5 so far have been based on stats. Alright. And then, lastly, we have the Flying Corkscrews. Finally, something different. An actual new flying attack. This one is good damage, but it's hard to control. You move super slow and hit like a single target, so it's a 3 out of 5. And then lastly, we have the Eagle Air Battle Gear. Increases armor. That's it. That's the whole Soul Gem. 3 out of 5. My goodness. Ending Jethvac's final score with a 53 out of 65.
Stay cool.
Now it's time for chill. Let's jump into our upgrades and get to rating these. Ice Javelin. Quick throw speed, but low to average damage, so 4 out of 5. Ice Wall. Great for protection and knockbacks, but can be hard to put where you want it, so 4 out of 5. Next, we have the Great Wall, which extends the wall, so 5 out of 5. Glacial Bash. Alright, this one I have a lot to talk about. This does great damage when you hit the blocks, but poor damage when you use it on enemies because you can't use your little block move. So there's a little pause in between. It's a little bit complicated, but 3 out of 5. Just use it on the ice and you're good. Imperial Armor. Increases armor, so 5 out of 5. Cold Front. This is easy to use and it's very effective, but it makes you extremely slow. Like enemies can run circles around you and just keep hitting you from the backside. So 4 out of 5. Top Path, we have the Burr Blade. Increases damage, 5 out of 5. Next we have the Shatter Spear, which you shoot, you shoot 1 still, but it turns into 2 when you shoot it through a wall. So it's great for arena, but like story mode and boss fights, it's not the best. But 5 out of 5 still. Next we have Triple Javelins. Now you actually throw 3 instead of 1. You don't have to send them through the ice. So it makes kind of this move useless, but it's a 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom we have Icebreaker. This one is a small explosion with good damage, so 4 out of 5. Now we have the Better Bash. Increases the area effect and hits multiple enemies, but it doesn't hit much. It's very inaccurate. 4 out of 5. On the Rocks. Freeze enemies. It's fantastic when she's not a character who does a ton of damage, so having this ability to freeze the enemies is pretty cool. So 5 out of 5. Then lastly we have the Call of the Narwhal. This does great damage to anyone in front of you and has a pretty short load time as well. So 5 out of 5, leaving Chill with a final score of 58 out of 65. Alright, now it's Hot Dog's turn. Let's jump into his abilities and get this poppin'. Alright, we have Fire Bark. These are good damage, but a pretty slow fire rate. So 3 out of 5. Wall of Fire. Good damage to anyone in front of you. Keyword anyone in front. Directly in front of you. So 4 out of 5. Pyro Piercers. Increases damage and you can now hit multiple enemies. So 5 out of 5. Comet Slam. Great to avoid damage. A good little evade you got there. And when you come back down, it does great damage. So 5 out of 5. Now we have Wall of More Fire. Increases damage, 5 out of 5. Super Comet. Increases damage, 5 out of 5. Top Path. Hot Dog combos. These are very underwhelming combos. I went this one for my Molten Hot Dog, and I was very underwhelmed. But they're a little useful still. But damage-wise and their effects, pretty meh. 4 out of 5. Bark Bombs. Increases damage. 5 out of 5. Pyro Pinwheel. This thing is very inaccurate, but it does good damage when it actually hits, but it doesn't really affect the gameplay because you're up in the air anyways. So, 4 out of 5. Now for the bottom. Blazing Wildfire. Increases speed and damage, so 5 out of 5. Great Walls of Fire. Increases size and damage, 5 out of 5. And then Magma Battalion increases the area of effect and damage. So 5 out of 5, just increasing so much damage throughout these. And then lastly, we have the Soul Gem. We have the Ding Dong Ditch. This one is just your average damage mine. A single average damage mine that you have to do your whole Comet Slam to do. Doesn't make much sense. It's pretty useless. 3 out of 5. Leaving Hot Dog with a final score. Why did I say it like that? Leaving Hot Dog with a final score of 58 out of 65. Now on to some of my least used Skylander right here. We have Fright Rider. So first off, really original name here. Melee attacks. Anyways, it's pretty much like a 2-hit. It's not even a combo. It's just stab, stab, and then it resets. There's a pause in between the strikes. I don't like this at all. 2 out of 5. Next, we have the Jousting Charge. This is a decent speed move. It's not very fast, but it has good damage and duration, so 4 out of 5. Next, we have Ghoul Glaive. This increases damage, so it's a 5 out of 5. Burrow Bomber. This is good damage, but it's slow and leaves you very vulnerable. I don't like that, so 2 out of 5. Phantasm Strike increases damage. And then Halberd of Horror increases damage, 5 out of 5. Onto the top path, we have the Fright Rider combos. These are our extremely powerful combos. I love these, 5 out of 5. And then now we have the Flock of Fury. These are decent damage. They're great for crowds of small enemies, but nothing more, 4 out of 5. And then Supreme Spear increases damage, 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, we have Joust Juice. Increases speed and damage of your joust, so 5 out of 5. Now we have Entombment Strike. This does massive damage to a very small area and can be hard to aim, so 4 out of 5. And then next we have the 360 degree of Spear. This does decent damage. It's nothing impressive, but it does it to anybody around you. Pretty wide area, all the way around, so 4 out of 5. Then lastly, we have a Real Drag. Now this does good damage and it's very useful for crowds of enemies, but only for small and medium-sized enemies. Large enemies later in the game, you don't stand a chance using this move. So this leaves Fright Rider with a final score of 54 out of 65.
He shoots, he scores.
Alright, now time for everybody's favorite little fungus, Shroom Boom.
Numbers grow.
First up, we have the Slingshot. This has a slow rate of fire. It's great damage though, but you must keep far away from enemies or else you can possibly shoot right over top. So 3 out of 5. Next, we have the Mushroom Ring. This provides close range damage and protection, and it actually does decent damage. So 4 out of 5. Launch Paratroopers. This does great damage, quick fire rate, and really easy to aim since they just kind of come straight down and seem to land on the enemies every single time. So 5 out of 5. Now we have the Super Shrooms. Increases range, so 5 out of 5. Bigger Boom Shrooms. So this is a massive damage with short little charge time, so 5 out of 5. And Bouncing Boom Shrooms. Increases damage and range because, they bounce. So 5 out of 5, just keep away when you're using him. Top path, Spore Power. This one is constant, small damage, good for arena and crowd control, so 4 out of 5. Next we have the Ultimate Ring, increases range, so 5 out of 5. And then back to the beginning, you get to remain underground. You are extremely slow, but it provides a little bit of protection. And then for the bottom path, we have Lock and Load. You can fire exploding mushrooms faster, so increases rate of speed and increases damage, so 5 out of 5. Next we have Fungal Infestation. Now we have increased damage over time, so 5 out of 5. Paratroopers Invasion, shoot 3 instead of 1, increasing range, so 5 out of 5. And then lastly, the Self Slingshot. This does great damage, easy to use, short charge time, so 5 out of 5. Leaving Shroom Boom with an impressive final score of 59 out of 65.
Blinded by the light.
Now we're on to Flashwing, someone who has completely different opinion about when I first got her versus what I do now. So let's see her abilities one by one. Crystal Shards, slow rate of fire, but they do great damage, so 4 out of 5. Next we have the Shimmering Spin. This is a great speed boost while doing good damage, so 5 out of 5. I love that move. Surrounded by Shards. Now, this is great damage, but it just frustrates me that it shoots in all directions but forward. So 4 out of 5. Next up we have the Luminous Lasers. Now, this is great damage with an average charge time, but that stupid scream that she does every single time is so annoying. But don't worry, I'm not taking off a point for that. That's just a personal thing. It's still a 5 out of 5. Now we have the Light Speed Shards. Increases rate of fire and damage, so 5 out of 5. And then we have Armored Aura. So this increases your armor, so 5 out of 5. Now for the top path, we have Shooting Shards. This is hard to aim, like where you want them to go and where the next shot will go. But they do good damage, so 3 out of 5. That's the best I could give it. Next, we have Crystal Craziness. Stick 3 crystals on the walls to destroy literally the whole screen. Just keep them, like, shoot at 3 different corners of, like, wherever you're at in the map, and then it'll just blow up the whole screen, do massive damage. So that's great. So 5 out of 5. Next, we have Healing Crystals. Now, this is a good healing ability. You just have to stand close to it. So 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, we have Extra Radiant Rotation. Increases damage and duration, so 5 out of 5. Next, we have Reflection Deflection. Increases armor, and you also get to deflect most projectiles back at the enemies, so 5 out of 5. Lights Crystal Action. These do great damage. Little laser lights show that you get to put on. It's not very fast, like you can't use them repetitively, but it's like 1 every second. But it's still useful when you're doing constant damage with her spin ability anyways, so 5 out of 5. And lastly, with her soul gem, we have the Crystal Lighthouse. This is great damage, but leaves you so vulnerable. One of the worst moves to leave you vulnerable, but it does good damage, so it makes up for a couple points. So 4 out of 5. Leaving Flashwing with a very impressive final score of 60 out of 65.
Fix is in.
Now on to everybody's favorite character from Giants, Sprocket. First up, we have the Wrench Whack. These are actually quick strikes with good damage and a pretty good basic combo as well. So 5 out of 5. Now we have the Turret Gun-O-Matic. This is a slow build time and very underwhelming damage for a minion. So 3 out of 5. Next we have the Auto Turret V2, which is probably version 2 I'm guessing. Increases damage and health for the turret. So 5 out of 5. Bouncing Betty Mines. Great damage to any enemies near it. So I love these mine attacks. Probably my favorite move of hers. So 5 out of 5. 2 times the turrets. You get 2 turrets. Yeah, but, you know, they still don't do great damage. But anyways, 5 out of 5. And tanks a lot. Quick movement speed, but still average damage. It's useless when your main attack does more damage than the tank. Did you hear me? A wrench. Swinging a wrench does more damage than driving a tank and shooting. You know, 3 out of 5. That's being generous, too. Sprocket combos. These are actually really good, powerful combos, and they're very easy to use. So, 5 out of 5. Next, we have Monkey Wrench, which increases damage, so 5 out of 5. All mines. Throw 3 mines out there. This is damage all across in front of you, so this is great. So, 5 out of 5. Was that a perfect path? Oh my gosh, it was. All right. Now for the non-perfect path. Mine drop. You literally have to drive away from the enemies for this mine to hit. It doesn't make much sense, but it does good damage still because it's one of the mines. 4 out of 5. Next we have Exploding Shells. This increases your damage shots. So 5 out of 5. Self-destruct system. This is good damage explosion. It really is. It's a good damage explosion. But enemies have to be so close to you to get affected by it. The explosion is tiny. 3 out of 5. And lastly, Landmine Gulf. This is actually one of my favorite moves just because it's fun and you keep the good damage of your mines. But it can be very difficult to hit any small enemies and some medium enemies because it's not very accurate. But other than that, it's super fun. It's probably my favorite ability to use. So 4 out of 5. Leaving Sprocket with, honestly, a score that impressed me and is probably going to either make people mad or impress them as well. But 57 out of 65. Alright, so it's that time again for you guys to find out how the upgrade rankings matched up against my rankings. So let's get into this. In last place at number 6, Jethvac. At number 5, Fright Rider. At number 4, Sprocket. At number 3, we have a tie between Chill and Hot Dog. At number 2, we have Shroom Boom and Pop Fizz. And at number 1, we have Flashwing. See, that was the upgrade ranking, so now it is time for my favorite to least favorite ranking. Or actually, it's least favorite to favorite. Anyways, let's get into this. Number 8, Sprocket. Duh. 7, Shroom Boom. 6, Jethvac. 5, Chill. 4, Fright Rider. 3, Hot Dog. 2, Pop Fizz. And 1, Flashwing. So now we have arrived at the last section, the third and final section of this video, my top 5 favorite levels in Skylanders Giants. Now to do this, I did replay Skylanders Giants, all of the levels, on hard difficulty, so I could, get an in-depth look at them, as well as be challenged still. And I will say, narrowing it down to 5 was extremely difficult. Skylanders Giants has so many fantastic levels that are in-depth and just beautiful to look at, and they're so fun boss battles and everything. So narrowing it down to 5 was not easy, but here's my top 5 favorite levels. Favorite meaning just the ones that I found the most fun in, most interesting, or nostalgic, because there is a little bit of points in there for that. Other than that, here we go. My top 5 favorite levels in Skylanders Giants. Starting off my list at number 5, I have Glacier Gully. This level is easily one of the most nostalgic levels in the entire game for me, and it's all because of the level soundtrack. Now for the details of the level, it is a shorter level, but it has lots of great and sometimes challenging combat sections, featuring enemies such as Bago Boom, Frigid Chompies, Mohawk Cyclops, Armored Mohawk Cyclops, and Executioners. The goal of the level is to get our lovable friend, the Machine Ghost, to his robot body. Throughout the level, you'll complete beam puzzles while Noodle yells at you about the Great Evil Ice Master! But luckily, the level ends like this.
Master! Master! What have they done to you? It is I, Noodles, your humble servant! What are your evil wishes?
Classic Noodles.
Now at number 4, I have the Oracle, possibly the coolest and most unique level from any Skylanders game. I could explain this level for days, but I'll keep it short and sweet. This level features 14 different areas, but you can only get to 8 with a single playthrough of the level. There's 6 sections where you must decide which path you'll go, each with very unique different twists, enemies, and collectibles. Enemies you'll find throughout the level are Spiderlings, Gargantula, Derivator, Root Runners, Jawbreakers, Chompies, Frigid Chompies, and lastly, the ChompyBot 9000s. This level is full of twists and turns, but the most strange feature of this level is if you use Sprocket. Why, you may be asking? Well, Sprocket designed her turrets to only fire at bad guys, but if she assembles one near Oracle, it fires on him. Is this a bug in her code? Or is this telling us something about Oracle? On to number 3, Troll Home Security. This level is pure chaos. Chaos with a CH and not a K. One of those levels that is a nightmare on nightmare mode. Easily one of the hardest combat levels in Skylanders Giants. Just look at the enemies. You've got D-Riveters, Inhuman Shields, Infuego Chompies, Mace Majors, and the dreaded enemies on Nightmare Mode, the ChompyBot 9000 and Grenade Generals. The goal of the level is to infiltrate Chaos's Troll Home security so the Skylanders can gain access to Chaos's castle. You must fight your way past tons of enemies and cannons to eventually get to the very top and take out the Troll's shield gun. My favorite part of this level is where you must run through 3 levels of bombs, enemies, and cannon fire to make it to the top. On the 3rd and last run past cannon fire, they will fire so fast and so often that you won't even hear the level's music. Just your defeat approaching. Here we go. Number 2, the Willicon Village. A level I used to find so creepy and boring, but now I find to be fun, detailed, and challenging. In the story, Flynn only lands here because the Dread Yacht is damaged and needs to be fixed, and boy am I glad he did. Okay, maybe the Willicon are still creepy, but it's very cool to get some insight on Chaos's past. All of the Willicon are unique and say different things, usually referring to chaos. Overall really neat and gives chaos some character development. But back to the level. The machines Chaos created to switch worlds and bring the Willicon to life is one of the coolest features because it affects nearly everything from the enemies to the environment. The combat throughout the level isn't too difficult other than a few bark demons and grenade generals. Other than that, you'll see chompies, mace majors, and root runners. So far the level is good, but nothing too great. Until... The Chompy Mage is in my top 3 favorite Skylander villains. And this boss fight is epic, challenging, confusing, and creative. In this fight, you'll need to dodge the giant Chompy and Chompy eggs while making sure not to defeat the Infuego Chompies, so the giant Chompy can suck them in and get damaged. Later in the fight, you'll need to switch worlds to avoid the Chompy Mage's magic, while also attacking him to finally defeat him, concluding one of the best fights in the history of Skylands.
Power perfected.
And now finally, onto my number 1, my absolute favorite level in Skylanders Giants.
Skylander, this drill bot is on the scene. To look you forward and back with a roll of jack, cause you wrestle with the wrong machine.
The boss fight alone would still put this level in the top 5. But the actual level up to Drill X is amazing as well. This is another combat-heavy level featuring enemies such as Blaze Brewer, Crystal Golem, Inhuman Shield, D-Riveter, Archean Bomber, and of course, Chompies. The level feels so eerie and suspenseful as you hear Drill X's theme throughout the level as you must fight and explore the drilling rig, using strategic bounce pads, moving platforms, and conveyor belts to make it to the top to take down the machine that made Eminem quiet.
You don't stand a chance, Skylander. Even though you wore that round. Cause the power won't drop and the driller won't stop until the city of Chucky is found.
Imagine being so cool that you take breaks during a fight with the Skylanders to spit absolute bars. Enter Drill X. Sure, this boss fight isn't one of the most difficult, but it's the most fun and memorable. Between all 3 phases of the fight, Drill X will rap, leaving it stuck in your head for hours. And to make it even more torturous, they place the lyrics on the screen like a damn sing-along, and before you know it, his solo rap has turned into a duet featuring you. In the 3 phases of the fight, Drill X will perform 3 unique powerful attacks. A drill attack with flying rocks where you must hide to avoid getting hit. A rolling sweep attack where you have to use bounce pads at the right time to avoid massive continuous damage. And lastly, his 3-part slam attack. For this one, you'll need to stand clear of the slam while also avoiding fire waves from all 3 parts of his drill arm, while also attacking him until the big rig falls.
What did you do, Skylander? You just won the final round. I can't keep the beat on. And all systems are all shutting down.
So that is going to conclude it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 rankings, pretty in-depth rankings as well. Just want to say happy 10th birthday, Skylanders Giants. Thank you for the memories. There, I'll get a little sentimental for a moment. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the continued support. Let me know all of your rankings for all 3 of my rankings in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.